The bells toll across the hive, bronze voices cutting through the thick, recycled air. The sound carries a weight beyond mere timekeeping. It signals the start of another day of service, another opportunity to demonstrate usefulness, another chance to survive. Somewhere above the industrial labyrinth, the emperor watches, his will expressed not through words but through processes, quotas, and relentless scrutiny. I rise from my bunk with the practiced precision of someone who has spent years learning to make every motion count. Each movement, no matter how small, is measured, recorded, evaluated. The floor of the dormitory hums with 17 billion lives, each as expendable and essential as the next. Footsteps echo in silence, punctuated by whispered prayers, by the careful arrangement of personal items that might be transferred at a moment's notice. The air tastes of metal, sweat, and the faint sweetness of rations consumed with mechanical attention. Morning prayers proceed with unusual fervor today. Voices rise in unison, carrying words whose meaning has shifted through years of repetition and circumstance. Words once familiar, now laden with the anxiety of survival, with the awareness that our existence depends upon factors beyond comprehension. In the dormitories, some workers kneel with fear, others with devotion, but all share the same unspoken recognition. Judgment is imminent. At the manufactorum floor, rows of workstations stretch beyond sight, each manned by hands trained for perfection. Machines hum, conveyor belts carry materials with infinite patience. Mechanical eyes record gestures, pauses, errors, and moments of excellence alike. We are watched constantly, evaluated constantly. Success here is temporary, survival contingent on absolute adherence to unseen criteria, on the capacity to adapt before understanding catches up. A new shift begins, and with it, the arrival of fresh personnel. Young women and men, their expressions a mix of wonder and terror, take positions beside seasoned workers who move with automatic grace. Their initial mistakes are small, forgiven only because the system accounts for learning curves. Observing them, I remember my first days, the uncertainty, the overwhelming calculations, the necessity of making every breath purposeful. Quality assurance is a shadow that looms over every gesture. We know it is coming, we do not know when. Each shell, each piece of equipment we craft is subject to evaluation, not merely for technical precision, but for adherence to invisible patterns that determine the value of our labor, the continuity of our service. Failures are recorded, noted, and compounded across days, forming statistical judgments that will one day decide who remains and who is reassigned. Even as machines process raw materials with mechanical perfection, the human component struggles to keep pace with invisible expectations. We exist as extensions of the system, yet consciousness persists. Minds wander in microseconds of distraction, dreams merge with waking fears, and we pray not for victory, not for reward, but for continuation. Each day survived is a triumph not celebrated but silently acknowledged, a quiet recognition of the thin line between presence and absence. And so the first hours pass. Hands work, eyes record, voices recite, hearts race in silent synchronization with rhythms too vast to measure. Somewhere far above, decisions are made that will shape the course of thousands of lives. But down here, we do not see the decision makers. We do not understand the calculations. We only exist as the sum of our actions, as the measured variables and equations whose solutions are life itself. By mid-morning, the pressure of observation settles like a tangible weight on every workstation. Every movement is measured, every pause recorded. The new workers struggle to match the rhythm of seasoned hands, their motions slightly hesitant, their concentration stretched thin by the invisible gaze of supervisors. Even minor deviations carry the potential for consequences, though the criteria remain hidden, algorithms inscrutable. I watch a young woman struggle to align shells with the precision required, her brow furrowed, hands trembling slightly. She reminds me of myself on my first day, terrified of failure, yet determined to prove her usefulness. A supervisor approaches, mechanical eyes scanning her every motion. She stiffens, the air thick with anticipation. The adjustment she makes is slight, almost imperceptible, but it is enough. The recording confirms competence, or at least the appearance of it, and she is left to continue under the suffocating rhythm of the line. Lunch provides a brief, structured respite. Rations are consumed in silence, each bite measured, each swallow deliberate. Conversations are limited, cautious. Newcomers ask questions, soft, curious murmurs, about procedures, schedules, expectations. We respond with measured answers, offering guidance without revealing the full scope of the system's judgments. Too much knowledge can be dangerous. Too much truth can unravel the fragile equilibrium of adaptation. By afternoon, patterns in supervision become evident. Certain workstations receive more frequent inspections. Others are left to operate under routine monitoring. Some workers are called aside for additional measurement, their performance scrutinized in detail. The selection criteria remain opaque, but the human mind seeks patterns even where none are guaranteed. Fear and hope intertwine, creating an undercurrent of tension that heightens every gesture. I am aware of my own role within this machinery. Decades of experience allow me to move fluidly, to adapt instinctively to the invisible metrics. Yet even I am not immune to anxiety. The knowledge that a single misstep can ripple through evaluations, affecting not only myself but also those I mentor, creates a constant awareness of mortality measured in efficiency units. The young woman I guide asks questions about the fate of previous workers, those who were reassigned or removed during evaluations. I answer cautiously, emphasizing continuity and service to the Emperor, avoiding speculation about outcomes that could provoke fear or resistance. The truth remains hidden, carried only in whispers of memory and the quiet observation of absence. As the day progresses, the rhythm of the manufacturum presses on. Machines hum, conveyor belts carry materials, mechanical eyes record. Human hands adapt, struggle, and perfect. Prayers are recited in sync with motion, a fusion of ritual and survival. The line moves as one, a complex organism composed of billions of individual efforts, each essential and yet expendable. Evening arrives, though it brings no relief. Fatigue accumulates, the mind constantly calculating, adjusting, anticipating. The young woman rests briefly, eyes closed, only to open them to the reality of continued observation. Sleep is fragmented, consciousness suspended between memory and expectation. The hours blur. Every shell produced, every action taken, every prayer recited, forms part of a continuous assessment whose scope extends beyond human comprehension. And yet, amidst the relentless scrutiny and unending quotas, a small understanding emerges. Adaptation is survival, precision is life, and service itself is both prayer and existence. The manufacturum does not forgive, does not rest, does not forget, but it teaches. It molds those who remain, shapes hands, minds, and hearts into instruments of efficiency, vessels for continuity in a universe indifferent to individuality. The shift begins with an air of quiet anticipation. Supervisors move deliberately, their attention distributed according to invisible algorithms, selecting certain workers for closer scrutiny. Data flows invisibly from mechanical eyes to central processing units, converting human effort into streams of measurable variables. Every gesture, every hesitation, every moment of precision or error is recorded. Mid-morning brings the first tangible signs of consequence. 3 worker designations are called to report to administrative offices. Their departure is smooth, efficient, almost ritualistic. They gather their belongings, clean their stations with careful attention, and walk away with the solemnity of those who understand that their service in this capacity has ended. The remaining workers absorb the subtle lessons of absence. Continuity is fragile. Survival is measured in conformity to standards unseen but unyielding. I glance at the young woman I've been mentoring. Her face is a mixture of curiosity and fear. She watches the departing workers, asking questions in hushed tones. I provide only what can be safely shared, explanations framed in terms of continued service and contribution, avoiding the harsher truths of replacement and evaluation. The human mind seeks patterns even where logic is absent. Fear constructs its own understanding when knowledge is incomplete. As the afternoon progresses, new patterns of supervision emerge. Certain stations are visited repeatedly, while others operate under lighter observation. We begin to notice subtle differences in tool assignments, precision instruments allocated to some, standard equipment maintained for others. Each change is a potential test, each observation a metric of competence. The manufacturum operates like a living algorithm, constantly adjusting human and mechanical inputs to maintain optimal output. Rituals continue with intensified focus. Prayers are recited not just as spiritual observance, but as acts of survival. The cadence of washing ceremonies, the deliberate handling of tools, even the placement of personal items, all contribute to the larger calculus of existence within the facility. Every act becomes both duty and demonstration, a signal that we are useful, precise, adaptable. Evening descends, and the weight of observation persists. Sleep is interrupted by the awareness that judgment is ongoing, that assessments continue even in the absence of direct supervision. Dreams blur with waking thoughts, shells, measurements, prayers, and the faces of those who no longer occupy their stations. The young woman lies in the bunk beside me, eyes closed, yet alert in a way that betrays nascent understanding of the demands placed upon us. The day concludes not with celebration, but with the knowledge that continuity itself is reward enough. Survival in this system is provisional, contingent upon performance, observation, and adaptation. We have navigated the first wave of consequences, yet the horizon remains uncertain. Tomorrow promises another evaluation, another opportunity to prove usefulness, another moment where the invisible mathematics of judgment will decide our place within the manufacturum. And in that quiet realization, we endure. The machinery hums, the lights flicker, and the manufacturum continues, an indifferent, relentless instrument of order and calculation. Within it, we exist, individually insignificant, yet collectively indispensable, bound to the rhythm of service that transcends understanding. The afternoon shift brings an unexpected development. A new worker arrives to fill one of the empty stations. She is a woman whose age and experience suggest transfer from another section rather than fresh assignment. Her presence immediately alters the rhythm of the floor. Questions arise, though none can be asked aloud. Why is she here now? Was her previous assignment inadequate, or has she been brought in to stabilize ours? She moves with deliberate focus, executing her task with precision that demands attention without attracting unnecessary scrutiny. Her eyes, however, reveal a familiarity with fear, a knowledge born from previous exposure to judgment and evaluation. Survival here is not random. It is earned through competence, adaptability, and perhaps the luck of timing. As the shift progresses, the patterns of oversight intensify. Certain stations are visited more frequently, workers interrupted to measure output, tools adjusted, gestures observed. These differences may be random or intentional, but to those within the manufacturum they feel systematic, as if an unseen hand calculates each variable with mathematical exactness. The new worker's presence sets an example. She demonstrates not only skill, but composure under pressure, a combination that silently communicates what is required to endure. Others adjust their pace, conscious of the heightened expectations that her arrival represents. We observe, we learn, we mimic, not just to survive the day, but to signal continued utility to the ever-watchful system. Evening approaches, and the first subtle consequences of her presence are felt. Efficiency metrics show minor fluctuations, supervisors take additional notes, and the rhythm of prayer and cleaning gains renewed intensity. Each action, reciting verses, washing hands, arranging tools, is no longer routine. It becomes proof of dedication, evidence that we can maintain focus under scrutiny. In the dormitories, empty bunks stand as silent markers of absence. Those removed from their stations are already processed elsewhere, their belongings gone, their places reassigned. The transition is methodical, efficient, leaving no trace of individual failure beyond the void left behind. Those of us who remain understand that our continued presence is provisional. Tomorrow and the day after may bring new arrivals, new departures, new challenges, all governed by criteria we cannot see but must adapt to. Sleep is elusive. The mind cycles through the day's observations, integrating lessons from the new worker, the absent colleagues, and the shifting patterns of oversight. Dreams are fractured, alternating between ritual, production, and abstract calculations that weigh our performance against an unknowable standard. Survival here is both physical and psychological, a constant negotiation between competence, composure, and patience. And so the day ends as it began, with tasks performed, prayers recited, tools handled with care, and the silent acknowledgement that we exist only to serve, to endure, and to be measured. The manufacturum hums, indifferent to individual fears or triumphs, while we continue learning, adapting, and surviving within its vast, mechanical precision.